He rode out of Louisiana territory, and with his gun slung low and his microphone held high, he brought truth to a savage land. And the legend grew. Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
Well, yeehaw. Hey, Tom Gresham here, having a bunch of fun today. We're talking about guns and ammo and optics and tripods and pretty much anything that has to do with guns. So if you'd like to be a part of that, give me a holler, 866-TALK-GUN, or dial Tom Talk Gun. Now, we all love to get our guns, more guns, cool guns, old guns, new guns, doesn't matter. But you know the constant in all of that is we like to shoot. If you're going to shoot, you got to feed them because they eat. And we have never, ever had a time like this in terms of the incredible ammo that is available. It's stunning what's out there these days for us to shoot. Joining me right now is an old friend, been in the firearms business a long time, Tim Brandt with RUAG/Norma. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm great, Tom. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You bet. First of all, tell people, okay, a lot of people probably know the name Norma, but I think probably a lot fewer of them know RUAG. What is that?
Yeah, perfect. So, RUAG Ammotec essentially is the corporate company. They have a few different businesses, internationally. They're in aerospace, defense, and then sporting ammunition is really a huge driver for them from a market size standpoint. They're very big in Europe. They've had a great presence in the U.S. We're growing. We were on your show at SHOT Show to be able to talk about some exciting new categories. We're back in the personal defense category because, and take this the right way, please, but you're probably one of the few people that could tell us the specifics about when Norma was in the personal defense category before. And that was in the 80s with a 10-millimeter load that people still ask us about.
And in fact, was kind of involved with the whole Jeff Cooper 10-millimeter thing way back then.
Absolutely, yeah. So Norma's been around a long time, and they are true experts in the ammunition precision components. They're, I guess us old corporate guys like to say vertically integrated, but what that means to all of us shooters on a daily basis is they make primers, they make their own brass, they make their own bullets, but they also are like a lot of other companies, and they're not afraid to load other people's bullets. What they want to do is create the best ammunition for whatever you're doing.
I was just looking on the website. Norma was founded in 1902, so it's like 117 years old. But the thing that really got my attention, you got all these different categories. You're talking about self-defense and personal defense. And I just clicked on the one that said hunting. So let's see what's out there. And right up, it pops up and says, we have 212 offerings for you just in the hunting category for rifles. 212 offerings. Yes, we are back. Yes, no, actually, we really are. We're back. It's the 19th of May in 2019. The joys of doing live broadcast. A lot of you know that we have actually 3 different locations. I'm doing the show in Louisiana. Jim and Michelle are up in Ohio, and then we fire that over to New York where the signal gets sent up to satellite. So here's the inside baseball deal. Toledo went down. I mean, power went down everywhere. Big storms coming through, wind storms taking things down. Power's down everywhere. We went down. We went off the air. Fortunately, we have a backup because let's see, if something happens to me on my end, Jim's got the backup on his end. He can run a recorded show. If something goes wrong on his end in Toledo, then New York, the network, satellite services, they have the backup, and that's what kicked in just then. We're actually back up on we're limping. We're not fully back up. We may have smoke curling out of some equipment. We're not sure at this point if we took a lightning strike or a surge or what happened, but we are somewhat up. So there you go. We apologize to Tim Brandt. We were talking with him from RUAG. We're going to try to get him back on next hour. But, hey, that's what happens. It's live. And people say, oh, yeah, you should have a backup power. That really wasn't the issue. We have backup power. We have generators. Well, when you have equipment gets smoked, and actually, if your entire internet connection goes down, you're kind of history as well. But I was just looking at this story. Just came out. He's back. This would be former U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens Let's see. This past week, in an article published in The Atlantic, Stevens is trying to convince everybody that the ruling in the Heller decision was wrong. He called it the most clearly incorrect decision that the Supreme Court announced during my tenure on the bench. The Heller decision, of course, ruled against Washington, D.C.'s gun control laws and ruled them to be unconstitutional. But within the Heller decision, this is the much missed, much misinterpreted, misreported part of the Heller decision. Part of the Heller decision was that the Second Amendment is, in fact, an individual right. Up until then, it was called a collective right in many cases. That is, supposedly it was a right preserved for the militia because of the introductory phrase in the Second Amendment. It was called a right of the National Guard to have guns. I actually heard a government lawyer in the Emerson case at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals say, no one in this country has a right to own a gun. And the judge said, do you mean you have to be a member of the National Guard to have a right to own a gun? He says, oh, no. That alone is not enough. You would have to be actually working in the National Guard. Just being in the National Guard doesn't mean you get to own a gun. No one in this country has a right to own a gun. That was actually the position of the U.S. government. Under Heller, it was decided, no. This is an individual right. It says the right of the people. The people. But here's the thing. Heller was a 5-4 decision. And that is the part where it said Washington, D.C.'s law was unconstitutional. Its gun ban was unconstitutional. But within the Heller decision, the part that said this is an individual right, that was not a 5-4 decision. That was a 9-0 decision. Unanimous. The entire U.S. Supreme Court said the Second Amendment is an individual right. It's not a right of the government. By the way, governments don't have rights. They have powers, they don't have rights. Only you can have rights. People have rights. And this was a right where we, the people, before we would sign the Constitution, said, no. We have to stake out some areas here. We've got 10 little parts we want to make sure you keep your hands off of. Well, we're going to call them the Bill of Rights. How about that? We'll call them the Bill of Rights. These are areas that you cannot mess with. The second one is our ability to keep and bear arms. So Justice Stevens, you're wrong then. You're wrong now. I'm glad you're retired. And oh, by the way, man, if we can get Trump reelected and we get more justices on the Supreme Court, win. Winner, chicken dinner.